All right, thank you, Tom. Everyone can hear me, I hope. So now we're going to cover some opportunities for publishers across KGL and what has become somewhat of an annual tradition at this virtual series on day 3. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mike Groth. I'm the Director of Marketing for all of KGL. And we will be showcasing some publisher services across the wider organization that represent our own in-house capabilities available to platform customers that you may not be entirely aware of. So we've got 3 speakers who will just give a brief overview, each about 10-15 minutes, and we'll leave time for questions after each presenter. So I will introduce them in order as we go. First, we will hear from Erin McMullen. Erin is Director of Editorial and Peer Review Services, and she will introduce KGL's editorial office support and peer review workflows for scholarly publishers. So Erin, over to you.
Okay, and I'm sharing my screen at this point, right?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce KGL Editorial. We are very excited to be here at the PubFactory meeting this year. And my screen is not advancing, so just give me a moment. There, did that advance now?
Yes.
Oh, great, fantastic, sorry about that. So we were established as a company in the year 2000, and some of you might know us by our name, KWF Editorial. So we have been with KnowledgeWorks Global for just about 1 year now, and it's something that has been a great opportunity for us to really add to the services that we were already providing to our clients, and giving us additional bandwidth and access to technologies. So it's really been a benefit to the clients that we're already serving, and those that we are helping KnowledgeWorks Global to support forward. Our company, the key competencies of our company, our core services are editorial offices, full editorial offices, and also peer review workflows that might be in support of an organization's editorial peer review process. Many high volume clients would maybe be giving us just a piece of their workflow to manage. We are doing that as power users in all of the major manuscript management systems. So we really understand all the configurations and workflows as you can put them into Scholar One or Editorial Manager, BenchPress, AJP. So, really all of those. Plus, we also have experience in some proprietary systems that miscellaneous clients are using. We are supporting over 500 journals currently. They're large and they're small. And we have 68 highly esteemed clients, such as American Chemical Society, the American Society of Civil Engineering, Optica, and many others. We'd be happy to share our full list with anybody who's interested in talking to any of our clients about how we're providing services for them. We have an experienced, scalable staffing situation, which is able to give exceptional value to our clients, customized to exactly your needs, so that you're not paying for anything that you don't need, and just getting a real good value with the experience of the staff that is supporting your journals. In this slide, I'm going to just talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about in detail in the slides to follow. Probably the most important thing is just giving you a snapshot of who we have on staff, what our experience is, and that we are able to attract employees across the, because we're all virtual, we can attract an expansive talent pool. One other benefit of always having been a virtual company is that we do find we have a lot of stability with our staff. because people really do like the opportunity to work from home. And this really did give us a distinctive benefit during the COVID period because we were already used to working at home and had all of the systems in place. And so we were able to, pretty much operate without interruption and took on a lot of new permanent and temporary work from other organizations who did not have that kind of infrastructure. We also are fortunate in that not only do we have, the experience of our staff members, but we also have experience from our counterparts at KWF Consulting, which we avail of regularly to make sure that we are up to date on the latest trends and really keep on top of the direction that things are going in and what kind of support we will have to give to our clients. Also, we are very flexible. So, the client's needs we find can be very different from journal to journal or from organization to organization. And while we bring expertise as to best practices, we also are able to see the differences between each of our clients and what is working best and bring that to the workflows as we're helping other clients improve how they're turning around their manuscripts. Just to briefly introduce the senior leadership team for the editorial unit. I am Erin McMullen. I have been in scholarly publishing for 25 years. And I came initially from commercial publishing background at Wolters Kluwer Health, where I was in a publisher role there, as well as in some books roles. And then I was a managing editor at the American Association for Cancer Research for about 5 years prior to joining KWF Editorial as an editorial director and then moving into my current role. Alexandra Kaler is a critical member of the senior leadership team. Alex has 15 years in scholarly publishing, and she actually started her scholarly publishing career at KWF Editorial and really came up through the ranks with a deep understanding of the peer review processes. And between her background in molecular biology and genetics and her real knack for technology, she has really helped the organization grow in a way that has been critical to improving processes and especially handling large teams and workflows to minimize time spent and to bring good quality and efficiency to the team. So I'll talk a little bit more about the dashboard technology that Alex developed over the years for KWF Editorial. And finally, to introduce Laura Lander. She is an editorial director with KGL Editorial. Laura brings to the role 20 years of experience in scholarly publishing, extensive management and oversight at the American Association for Computing Machinery. And she helped that organization grow its journals program from 36 journals to 68 journals. We have about 120 team members altogether. And although there are a few other categories, the main categories of staff that we have are managing editors at different levels. So it might be associate managing editors up to senior managing editors. And we have peer review specialists and scientific specialists. Our managing editors are, excellently experienced. We might have some less complex workflows that we're managing, where we might have an associate managing editor who is also working closely with senior managing editors in order to grow their experience. And we meet with all of our managing editors regularly, hear what's happening on their journals, and are able to offer them advice and mentorship and help them ensure that their journals are running as smoothly as possible. And likewise, the managing editors give a lot of careful training and mentorship to the peer review specialists. And in the process of taking on a new journal, the managing editors will know, every aspect of what has to happen for that journal, and be sure that our peer review associates are really proficient and careful and shadow and train until we are certain that the quality that our client is seeing is really as close to perfect as you can be. This is a snapshot of a typical organizational chart. So, we would have one point of contact for an editor-in-chief, or in the case where we're just doing a single workflow or certain workflows for a journal, we would be having that managing editor interact with the assigned stakeholder for the organization within their in-house staff. We decide how we staff based on a number of factors that are really, customized to the journal. So if we have, for example, a Scholar One journal that is working with Wiley, we would look to assign staff who, has experience working with Wiley on Scholar One. And we also like to approach our teams always with at least one backup for every team member. So these teams are specifically assigned to the journals. They're not, just out of a big pool, for example. Once we have people that are trained for a journal, they are staying and working on that journal so that they can become, as most efficient and careful and really become intimately knowledgeable about those processes. The other benefit of this is it ensures continuity. So if, for example, somebody has gone out on vacation or there is some kind of turnover on the team, there are always other people that are trained to step right in so that our clients' workflows are not interrupted in the way they might be if they don't have that pre-trained backup. Okay, and we also do end-to-end editorial office services. And basically A to Z, we are the editorial office for a particular journal in these cases. We would be working as the right hand to the editor-in-chief. We would be helping the editor-in-chief with reporting for editorial board meetings. We would be looking very carefully at the processes and helping with, certain strategic initiatives such as improving the impact factor, improving time to publication. We would be looking to do quality checks on the journal website or within issues, helping with the issue lineup, helping manage invited content. So we really would be, all things to an editorial office. And as mentioned before, there are certain cases where we are really focused on very specific parts of the journal workflow, often for very high volume clients. So we are highly proficient with submission checks, able to follow some very complex submission checks at times and final technical checks. But also being able to minimize time spent through training and efficiency of our staff. We also have experience in looking for certain ethical issues and how to manage those. In addition, we have a lot of experience with communicating with reviewers, authors, and editors, and making sure that the peer review process is as smooth as possible. When are the right times to do the auto reminders? When should we be reaching out directly to the different stakeholders? And how to keep a efficient and clean reviewer database and just, move those manuscripts through as quickly as possible. And we also have scientific specialist services where many PhDs or people with a master's in public health, et cetera, would be assisting an editorial board with reviewer identification, or if there's an occasion for editorial board turnover, we can help identify candidates for that. Also doing things such as technical edits and writing issue highlights, and doing sort of the first check of manuscript assessment, for example, if a manuscript is in scope for the journal, which can be very helpful in moving things quickly on high volume journals. This is the technology that I mentioned earlier that was developed by our own Alex Taylor. So Alex was working on a very high volume journal, and we realized that the way the manuscript management systems were set up, where you could either distribute your workflow, you could assign odds and evens and some things like that. It really wasn't that effective when you maybe need 20 people on the team to be working on the journal. And sometimes manuscripts go more quickly and sometimes more slowly, and it was really hard to distribute work evenly that way and make sure that everything was moving through as it should. So Alex developed this technology. It was on we have it on a Google Enterprise platform, where the managers can see at a glance, it sits on top of the manuscript management system, and the managers can see at a glance how we are doing in each of the different workflows that we're supporting, and if we're meeting our service level agreements that we set up with each client. And so they can see if there is a need, for example, to move resources from one area to another, one workflow to another, to make sure that we are meeting our requirements. And also the team on other tabs of this can go in and see what is the next manuscript that needs to be picked up and worked on, so that we're always working on the one that's been in the queue the longest, for example. So nothing gets held up more than a day. And also, because of the size of our staff and the way we train, we are very scalable. So if volume, for example, is heavier one day than another, we would be able to scale up to meet the demand of that day. We would be very happy to demonstrate this for anybody who's interested in learning a bit more about this, and just talk to you a little bit about how it works. It's a great communication tool, and one of the other benefits is you can see these snapshots of data that we collect as we go to show how quickly have we been turning things around. If we want to make a change to the workflow and the process, we can see pretty quickly how that has impacted the overall time to publication. And we can use this as a tool for looking for ways to improve that. And finally, this is just a snapshot, it's just a sample of how we take on a new client, our onboarding process. So initially, we would have a meeting with the key stakeholders and set out a timeline and a process for how we would bring on the different workflows. We would then meet up with the stakeholders who can provide the knowledge transfer to us. We would work up shared documentation, which again, we house on our Google Enterprise system so that our staff always has access to the latest information rather than relying on sending emails to each other. And then we would do the onboarding and training. Usually this is done virtually, includes stepping through each process very carefully, and then also periods of mentorship to ensure that before our staff is doing things on their own, that they really understand the process very thoroughly. And then finally, we are assuming full responsibility for the assigned workflows and regularly checking in to ensure that, you know, we're communicating with our client and that everything is going as the client is expecting it to go. So I appreciate the time that you've given me to explain some of our services. I would love to hear from any of you to learn more about your journals and how we might be of service to you. In addition to the core services that we've showed here, keep in mind that we have filled in temporary roles in many cases because we have such experienced staff. They can step in when, you know, somebody goes on a medical leave. As well as doing a variety of miscellaneous editorial office projects, just because we, you know, have the resources that you might not have in your editorial office, the experience with a particular issue, or maybe the time in order to address it. So we would love to hear from you and would love to work with you.
Thank you, Erin. Does anybody have any questions for Erin? I'll just ask you a quick one. We know that the author perspective, the peer review process is one of their larger pain points in the publishing workflow. So I was wondering if you could comment, you know, obviously outsourcing peer review management is a valuable resource for helping publishers, you know, manage their resources and time and their volunteers and their staff. But what are the benefits from the author perspective?
Sure. So, you know, we found in pretty much all of the author surveys that, you know, I've seen in my time that authors are really concerned with time to publication and ease of the submission process. So with KGL Editorial, we have a lot of experience to guide journals towards best practices that make ease of submission central. In other words, we can look at the workflows, make sure that we are timing our request for materials to authors at the right time, so we're not causing them unnecessary work early on in the process. We can provide very clear guidance to authors in our communications about what to submit to minimize any confusion on their end. And finally, in terms of time to publication, a little bit of what I spoke about earlier, which is because we really have fine-tuned, you know, what is the most effective ways of chasing reviewers, chasing editors, communicating with authors. We can help journals reduce their overall time to publication through added efficiency, which is a, you know, direct benefit to the authors.
All right, thank you, Erin.